want our children to succeed. But what does success in education really mean? You may think it doesn't just mean test scores, but creativity, curiosity, problem solving. In my eyes, a good education system means building a community, one where everyone wants to see the child involved succeed. One where the child doesn't just go to school because his parents tell him to. One where school isn't seen as a way of getting rid of your child for a few hours. But very few of you would think of a tiny country on the edge of the Baltic Sea being closer to achieve this system of perfection than any other country. When you think of Europe's leading countries, you usually think about the giants, countries such as Germany, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, countries with long histories, big economies, and even longer egos. But Estonia was able to create something these titans are still chasing and is not even perfected yet. How the nation, this small, this unlikely, create one of the most advanced education systems on the planet, while the rest of us are stuck fixing the printer in the teacher's lounge. Their story is living proof that transformation doesn't come from size, money, or even luck. It comes from mindset. They prove that even a country with limited resources can outsmart the giants if its people believe that learning never stops. Because what Estonia built wasn't just a school system. They built a culture, one where teachers learn, parents learn, and learning itself becomes a shared national habit which promotes innovation and creativity, and not just the memorization of textbooks. The result, a generation of young people who don't fear change, who don't crumble when systems crash or when the world goes offline overnight. Now, let's rewind to the COVID-19 pandemic. For most of the world, school turned upside down. Children struggle to connect. Teachers struggle to adapt. Parents struggle to understand Google Classroom. For Estonia, classes continued almost seamlessly. Students logged in, teachers taught, and lessons went on as usual, because Estonia had already been preparing for decades. In 1996, the Estonian government launched the Tiger Leap program. Its goal, simple but visionary: provide every school with internet access, provide them with computers, and train teachers to use them. 40-hour training courses, thousands of teachers, one step at a time. They weren't waiting for the future to arrive, they were quietly building it. And they were one step ahead. And to this day, they are one step ahead. As of September 2025, just little over a month ago, the Estonian government launched a new program similar to the Tiger Leap program, with the goal of providing AI-empowered tools to every school in the country. Now, everyone has technology, right? So what makes Estonia truly different? Well, I'll tell you, it's people, especially parents, adults, parents who didn't just ask their children to learn, they modeled it. Parents who didn't just say, do your homework, but instead said, let's learn together. Recently, I came across an Australian education expert who goes by the name John Hattie. John Hattie synthesized over 140,000 studies involving 400 million students to identify factors which impact student learning. He did something called a meta-study, a study of all studies, and it's one of the largest analyses ever done. Now, what did he find out? He found out that the number one factor which determines how well students learn isn't class size, money, or even curriculum. It's what adults do. When teachers learn, students learn. When parents learn, students thrive. When adults stop learning, systems collapse. Estonia understood this after the fall of the Soviet Union and their resolution claiming their independence in 1991. They didn't wait for the children to fix their system. They became the change they wanted their children to see. When a parent picks up a book or learns how TikTok algorithms work, or even struggles with math again, they're showing us something important. That they're not just gaining knowledge, But the fact that learning never ends. Nowadays, in a lot of countries, school isn't seen that way by a majority of parents or adults. Believe it or not, as I've said before, school is unironically seen as a way of getting rid of your child for half a day and having some peace and time for yourself. Maybe some of you can even relate. Now, don't get me wrong, Estonia is not perfect. They have their own challenges like any other country. A gap between Estonian and Russian language schools, rural regions that need more support, teacher shortages. But what makes them different is that the Estonian people believe in their system. They believe in the teachers teaching their children, and they believe in the national curriculum, something most countries lack. Their story reminds us that systems don't change because we design them perfectly, but they change because people inside them decide to keep learning. To prove this, in the latest OECD PISA studies, Estonian students ranked among the best in the world in reading, maths, and science, and first in Europe in creative thinking. Nearly 9 out of 10 Estonian students reach the global average in creative problem solving, far above the global average. We may not see it today, but these countries we now consider untouchable, the ones with shiny international schools, high budgets, will look up to Estonia and ask, how did they do it? A country with 9 times less money than ours and 15 times fewer people than ours was able to create an education system that outperforms the global superpowers. They come from a background much like ours, and yet they've achieved something we're still reaching for. So the question isn't, why can't we? It's, when will we choose to? When will we choose to build a culture where learning never stops? When will we show our children that the true strength of a nation doesn't come from size or money, but in its commitment to keep learning together? Thank you.